Tonight, a serious mid-flight medical emergency, but the pilot wouldn't land.
Why are you not diverting the flight? I was so shocked.
Severe chest pains, weakness, vomiting. He died upon landing. Now his daughter is going public. Airstrikes intensify on Gaza, despite calls for a break in fighting.
I think everyone would welcome humanitarian pauses.
We break down the difference between a ceasefire and a humanitarian pause, and what it could take to broker one.
Amazing, amazing!
Breakdancing is heading to the Olympics, and a Canadian just scored gold.
It was just an amazing experience.
This is The National with Ian Henemansing.
An Ontario woman is mourning her father and demanding answers tonight from Air Canada, saying he was left fighting for his life when he suffered a medical emergency during a flight. His daughter says he seemed to be having a heart attack, but instead of landing early, the plane flew on for 9 more hours to Montreal. Air Canada says the crew followed procedure, but as Erica Johnson explains in this Go Public investigation, some question why it wasn't handled with more urgency.
He is looking so happy here.
Shanu Pandey pores over cherished photos of her father taken before they boarded a plane in Delhi 2 months ago. 83-year-old Harish Pant was headed to Canada to start a new life with his daughter's family. But the 16-hour Air Canada flight took a turn.
He started complaining of chest pain after 7 hours into the flight. And he was like asleep and he's saying, I'm having a severe chest pain. He held his heart like this.
Pant became weak, lost control of his bowels, started vomiting, developed back pain. Unfortunately, there was no doctor on board. His daughter says she urged flight crew to get the plane diverted to a hospital while they were still over land. The pilot contacted an American company that provides airlines access to on-the-ground doctors. Eventually, a flight attendant shares the news. The plane is staying on course.
I said, why are you not diverting the flight? Do you see his condition? She's saying that, it's a non-life threatening condition. So, my God, yeah, I was so shocked.
Go Public described Pant's symptoms to 5 doctors. All said he was showing signs of a serious cardiac event. All said they would have recommended the pilot land the plane as soon as possible.
I can't believe that the ground crew wouldn't have suggested that they divert.
It shocks you?
Very much so. Yes.
The flight continued on, finally touching down in Montreal. Pant died shortly after. An Air Canada spokesperson says the airline extends its deepest sympathies, but categorically rejects any assertions it was responsible for the customer's death, saying crew properly followed procedures. It wouldn't say what information was used to base its decision not to divert. Pandey has yet to unpack her father's suitcase. She wants to keep close memories of a man she says wasn't given a fighting chance.
Erica, let's talk about who makes the call to divert the plane.
Well, Air Canada says it made this decision based on careful consultation with the on-the-ground medical company it uses for advice. But ultimately, it's the Air Canada pilot who makes the call. Interestingly, those pilots rarely interact with the passenger in distress. Flight attendants fill out a sort of form, give that information to the pilot, who then connects with the on-the-ground company. It's a little different over at WestJet. They use an app to talk to the on-the-ground company directly.
And how often does this level of in-flight emergency happen?
Well, the company Air Canada uses says that globally there are about 60,000 in-flight medical emergencies every year. Fewer than 2% of those result in a diversion.
Erica Johnson in our Vancouver newsroom.
Good to talk to you.
Tonight in Gaza, people are enduring another phone and internet blackout as Israel announced its troops effectively have cut the territory in two. Some of the images you'll see from Gaza are difficult to watch, and as Ellen Morrow shows us, there's little sign that calls for some kind of pause or ceasefire are having any impact.
Panic at Al-Quds Hospital in Gaza City. Dozens injured, says the Palestine Red Crescent Society, after Israeli airstrikes close by. The building already filled with patients and the displaced. At the Al-Maghazi refugee camp, the hope for any more survivors in this mountain of rubble is dwindling. An Israeli airstrike at the camp, the Hamas-run health ministry says, killed at least 51 people. This journalist lost 4 of his children. I don't know what to tell you, Mohammed Al-Alul says in shock. May God have mercy on them. The children who survived this war will be forever scarred. Layan Al-Baz lost both her legs in an Israeli strike. I don't want false legs, she says. I want my legs back. My future is over now. The Israeli military says its strikes are aimed at Hamas, again accusing the militant group of hiding behind civilians. Supplying this video, the military says it shows rocket launching positions next to a playground. But for civilians, this is unbearable. Another night of heavy aerial bombardment, and Gaza cut off, the 3rd telecommunications blackout of the war. In the occupied West Bank, crowds protested a surprise visit by U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken. There to meet with Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas. Abbas called for a complete ceasefire. The U.S. is pushing instead for a shorter humanitarian pause.
It can advance things that we're all trying to accomplish, including getting hostages back, including getting a lot more assistance into Gaza.
Not far from that meeting, we met these men from Gaza. They had been working in Israel but were forced to flee to Ramallah after the October 7th attacks. No longer wanted in Israel, unable to return home. Hassan al-Sultan shows me pictures of his loved ones, 18, he says, killed in the bombings. My wish is to be with my family, he tells me. Even if I would die there, I want to be with my family. Despite weeks of war, Hamas is showing it can still fire rockets into Israel, most intercepted by the Iron Dome. Israel's prime minister says there won't be any ceasefire until the more than 200 hostages being held by Hamas are free.
And Ellen, far from a pause or ceasefire, it sounds like the bombing and fighting is getting more intense.
That's right, Ian. The BBC has a reporter in Gaza, likely with a satellite phone, able to get around the communications blackout. He says this is the heaviest night of bombing yet. It comes on the same day as the Israeli military says it's effectively split Gaza in two between north and south. Now, Israel again told civilians to move to the south today for their own safety, the military says. But the UN says that all of its facilities in the south are already over capacity. It can't take anybody else. And aid groups say that with airstrikes continuing in the south as well, that there is no such thing as a safe place in the Gaza Strip.
Ellen Morrow is in Jerusalem tonight. Deadly attacks continue along the Israel-Lebanon border, including what Lebanon says was an Israeli drone strike that killed 4 civilians. According to local media, this vehicle was carrying 3 children and their grandmother. Beirut says it's lodging a complaint with the UN Security Council over the strike. Israel says the vehicle was being used by suspected terrorists and that at least 1 Israeli civilian was killed in attacks by the Lebanon-based militant group Hezbollah. For a second day, the only route for civilians out of Gaza, the border crossing with Egypt, has remained closed. And as Tom Perry shows us, even if the border opens again, it's not clear Canadians will be on the next list of foreign nationals allowed to escape.
All packed up, but going nowhere. A Canadian mother and daughter arriving on the Gaza side of the Rafah crossing with their passports in hand. My daughter and I have Canadian citizenship, she says. We've been struggling for 5 days, going back and forth to the Rafah crossing. But the border was closed again today, leaving Canadians and others still stranded. It's a very sad decision to suspend evacuations because the situation is dangerous, says this Palestinian man who holds German citizenship. A dispute over security guarantees for injured Palestinians is reportedly part of the reason for this shutdown. This after Israel struck an ambulance Friday, which it says was being used by Hamas. The Palestinian Red Crescent says it was taking patients to Rafah. Canadians in Gaza and their families back home are caught in the middle.
It's a very frustrating time.
Sama Al-Sabah has been trying to get her 73-year-old father out of Gaza. She was told her dad could leave Monday if he could get from northern Gaza to Rafah. Then she says her father got a phone call.
They contacted my father yesterday and they told him there has been delays because of the borders being closed today, so you'll be pushed back to Tuesday.
Each day the border is closed, the backlog gets bigger. But aid groups say while countries try to get their people to safety, they can't forget Palestinians who have nowhere to run.
All civilians should be protected. All civilians should not be harmed.
But civilians have been paying a heavy price since this conflict began. As this conflict approaches the 1-month mark, Canadians in Gaza say they're just trying to get out of the way. Global Affairs now says Canadians could start leaving Gaza as early as Tuesday, though it warns that date is tentative and subject to change. Tom Perry, CBC News, Cairo.
In Turkey, police used tear gas and water cannons to push back pro-Palestinian protesters who tried to storm an airbase housing U.S. troops ahead of Secretary of State Antony Blinken's arrival in the country tonight. Protesters also marched on the U.S. Embassy in Ankara. Flights have resumed at Hamburg Airport in Germany after an 18-hour-long hostage situation. Police say a 35-year-old Turkish citizen drove onto the tarmac with his 4-year-old daughter after taking her by force from her mother. He reportedly demanded they be allowed to fly to Turkey. After hours of negotiations, the man was arrested. The child appeared to be uninjured. Americans are exactly 1 year away from a presidential election. And as Katie Simpson explains, new polling shows things are looking good for Donald Trump, particularly in swing states.
Donald Trump's grip on the Republican base appears tighter than ever. At a party summit in Florida, he rubbed salt into Governor Ron DeSantis' wounds, parading a handful of state lawmakers he flipped from DeSantis to join his campaign, while critics of the former president were shouted down.
Donald Trump will be found guilty by a jury on a felony offense next year.
Trump may be in serious legal trouble, facing more than 90 criminal charges, but he is still on pace to become the Republican presidential nominee, meaning it's likely the 2024 vote will be a rematch against Joe Biden. New polling from the New York Times and Siena College suggests Trump is leading Biden in 5 key swing states: Arizona, Nevada, Georgia, Pennsylvania, and Michigan. At times appearing fragile, Biden's age and mental fitness were highlighted as concerns for voters.
Wow, nice looking bus.
It's partly why one lawmaker is challenging Biden for the Democratic nomination.
There's nothing that the president can do about his age. He's a human being and a good one.
The polling suggests Biden is losing support among Black and Hispanic communities, and with young voters too. Fresh backlash was also on display at a large pro-Palestinian protest in Washington, where demonstrators are angry with the U.S. position on the Israel-Hamas war.
My message to President Biden is, I voted for you, and I regret it.
But with a year of unpredictable campaigning to go, anxious Democrats are being told to remain focused.
You've got a choice if you're a Democrat. You can spend your energy being worried and upset and getting an ulcer, or you can use that energy to go out and change things.
Katie, 1 year out from the election, what are we learning about concern in Ottawa about the possibility of Trump returning to the White House?
Sources tell me there is worry about what it could mean for the Canada-U.S. relationship. I'm told the thinking is Trump will surround himself with staff who directly follow his orders. During his last administration, there were people who would slow things down and try to steer him away from some of his instincts. That was crucial in saving NAFTA. Remember, he wanted to rip that trade deal up. There are, of course, broader concerns about how U.S. leadership might change on the world stage. And then, at a basic level, it would be a return to diplomacy by flattery. Ian.
Katie Simpson in Washington. A more pressing concern for the Liberals, the ongoing political fallout over a plan to pause the carbon tax on heating oil. Tomorrow, MPs will vote whether to extend that break to all home heating. JP Tasker shows us the new pushback tonight.
A move from Western Canada to rural Nova Scotia has left Barry Ruger with sticker shock.
It is so expensive, and we know that for the long run, we really can't afford to pay that much.
Last winter, it cost Ruger nearly $5,000 to fill up his home heating oil tank. Ottawa's pause of the carbon tax to help people like him may not be enough.
I think they need a lot more help than just a few cents a litre on their heating oil.
Federal data shows just 3% of Canadians use oil to heat their homes. The numbers are a lot higher in Atlantic Canada.
Nobody can say that it's being implemented fairly today.
That's left other provinces frustrated.
The way to do that is for the Prime Minister to do the right thing, to be fair to all Canadian families, and to extend his carbon tax pause to all sources of heating oil.
That's where the Conservative leader comes in.
Who's ready to axe the tax?
Pierre Poilievre has a motion before Parliament to apply the tax break to all forms of home heating.
I think it's okay if we recognize that some policies have a disproportionately positive impact on some regions of the country.
The Prime Minister announced a 3-year tax pause surrounded by Atlantic Canadian MPs, arguing it gives people time to switch to heat pumps. That's something every Canadian on oil can benefit from, says a senior minister from the region.
This is a smart approach to move forward with the transition towards heat pumps and to see if we can get off home heating oil as a country altogether.
Ruger's open to a subsidized heat pump, but
the paperwork involved is just overwhelming to get into any of these programs.
Poilievre's motion to expand the carbon tax pause isn't expected to pass, but the fight isn't over. Some premiers are threatening to withhold the levy until there's a nationwide reprieve. JP Tasker, CBC News, Ottawa.
The carbon tax is likely on the agenda in Halifax, where Canada's premiers and territorial leaders are meeting. The main focus of the summit, though, is tackling the healthcare crisis. Kate McKenna is outside the provincial legislature, where leaders are gathering tonight. And Kate, do we know any potential healthcare strategies the premiers are going to be putting forward?
Well, so far the big issue that we've heard is that there are simply not enough healthcare workers. So they're looking at solutions that target training, recruitment, and making sure that people's credentials, if they're trained internationally, are recognized here in Canada.
The need to really bring up additional health professionals to make sure that people get the care they need in communities across our province. I know it's a national issue, and we want to make sure we're not eating each other's lunch by outbidding each other for health professionals, and that we're training in a coordinated way across the country.
So other big issues include housing and infrastructure, also likely on the agenda.
Absolutely, and affordability is one we've heard multiple times, including from Manitoba's new premier, who says for him, it's right up there with healthcare.
I think both are really important. Like, we just came out of an election, and it was like issues 1A and 1B in terms of healthcare and lowering costs for the average Manitoban.
And of course, the other big issue is how the carbon tax will play out in these meetings. We know that some of the most vocal criticisms of the carbon tax come from premiers, including the premiers of Saskatchewan, Ontario, and Alberta. So how that plays out remains to be seen, but we are expecting to hear from the premiers after their meetings.
Kate McKenna in Halifax tonight. Breaking the ice in the world of competitive breakdancing. Canadian wins gold at the Pan Am Games, and his sights are already set on the Paris Olympics. Plus, a photographer gets fined while taking pictures.
But it's a public sidewalk. Like, I'm not doing anything wrong.
Why he was arrested.
It could happen to any tourist.
And the push for peace in Gaza.
We demand a ceasefire.
You need to see a humanitarian pause.
We'll break down the difference between the two calls for action. We're back in 2. Funerals have begun for the victims of Friday's earthquake in Nepal. More than 150 people died, even more were injured. Rescue teams are continuing to search for people who could still be trapped under the rubble. A professional photographer says he was handcuffed and fined in Quebec City, accused of hanging around a public space too long to get the perfect shot. As Jennifer Yoon shows us, this case is raising questions about his right to be on a public sidewalk.
A near-perfect shot. Photographer John Morris snapped this picture of Quebec City's Chateau Frontenac Tuesday. But he wanted more clouds in the background, so he waited on this picturesque street near the American consulate. First, he says, a consulate guard asked him to leave. Then, after he refused, police showed up.
So he's like, no, you have to move. You can't stand here forever. I said, but it's a public sidewalk. Like, I'm not doing anything wrong. So to our left is where my interactions with the police were.
Police say they were responding to a call about a suspicious man near the American consulate. Police asked him to identify himself, but he refused.
At that point, I was like, okay, this is weird. I'm going to take out my camera, take out my phone, and film this. And at that point, they said, put your hands behind my back.
Morris was fined $230 for breaking a bylaw preventing loitering.
It's absolutely crazy that you would be given a fine for waiting for clouds on a public sidewalk. I'm a professional photographer. I do this for a living.
The article that prohibits loitering is very vast.
This lawyer fights hundreds of loitering tickets per year.
Loitering, as I said before, means everything and nothing. You can be a tourist just looking at the sky, looking at the building, enjoying the city, and you would be loitering.
Police say it's up to officers' discretion if they fine or arrest someone for loitering, and that it's done on a case-by-case basis. Morris says he has already pleaded not guilty and intends to contest his ticket.
I mean, it kind of does make you question, like, what are the rules of being on a public sidewalk in Canada anymore, if that's what happened?
And he never did get that perfect shot. Jennifer Yoon, CBC News, Montreal.
As calls for a ceasefire in Gaza grow louder, Western politicians aren't following suit.
When people are calling for a ceasefire, they are basically saying that the war should stop right now.
Why leaders are choosing their words carefully. And
To Bieksa, slap shot, scores!
From the ice to the desk.
This was their best, what am I trying to say?
Game.
Kevin Bieksa on his journey to becoming a broadcaster. But first,
amazing!
A Canadian breakdancer makes history at the Pan Am Games. The National breaks down the stories shaping our world. Next.
And here comes Tamirat Tola, and all that exhaustion will give way to elation as he...
The Ethiopian runner breaking a course record to win the New York City Marathon, finishing almost 2 minutes ahead of his closest competitor. Helen Obiri of Kenya took the women's title. She also won the Boston Marathon earlier this year. A Canadian has won the gold medal in men's breakdancing at the Pan Am Games. But Phil Wizard, as he's known, is more excited about his next big competition, the Olympics. Lorenda Redekop has his story.
Amazing!
Say what?
He's known as Phil Wizard, clearly a wizard on the dance floor. Now, Philip Kim is heading to the Paris Olympics, his spot guaranteed by his performance at the Pan Am Games.
More than anything, I was relieved, but at the same time, it was just an amazing experience to be here. It's my first Pan Am Games, first one for breaking as well, so to be a part of kind of a historic moment.
The 26-year-old from Vancouver took it up 14 years ago.
It's a moment of just pure freedom, and it's honestly indescribable. There's nothing like it.
Breakdancing was born in the Bronx in the 1970s. It'll make its Olympic debut in Paris next year, added to appeal to a younger audience. A panel of judges will rank the moves on criteria such as personality, technique, and musicality. This former Canadian breakdancer has seen the sport evolve with increasingly difficult moves.
They're doing stuff Olympic gymnasts don't do, but it's the combo of how you bring flavor and style in the nuanced dance piece that connects all that.
He now runs workshops in correctional facilities and says breakdancing can be transformative.
They were like scared don't want to dance, don't want to do anything. They went on a journey. By the end of the week, they were like family, supporting each other.
Kim hopes the Olympics will give breakdancing a wider audience and the respect it deserves.
When I told my parents I wanted to be a b-boy for a living, they weren't the most, I don't want to say supportive, my parents were great, but it was a shock to them, and I want that narrative to change for future generations of dancers.
And one more honor, he's not only a Pan Am gold medalist, he was also one of the flag bearers at the closing ceremony. Loretta Redicomp, CBC News, Toronto.
Let's switch gears now, dig a little deeper. Former NHL player Kevin Bieksa made the successful switch from on-ice brawler to on-air analyst. He'll talk about both of those roles. But first, what would it take for Israel to suspend hostilities to let in aid? This is the breakdown. Calls grow louder for Israel to halt its attack on Gaza.
Let's have a ceasefire. Let's stop this madness.
So aid can reach those in the grip of despair. But what would be the terms of a delay like that? A lot depends on what you call it. There would be a world of difference between a ceasefire and a humanitarian pause. Thomas Dagla breaks down why there's so much riding on that distinction.
In Montreal and Toronto, from London to Paris, and in cities around the world this weekend, huge crowds demanded a ceasefire in Gaza, a request that seems simple on the surface, but one rejected by Israel and its Western allies.
We demand a ceasefire. How many children are supposed to die for us to do something about this?
How many deaths do you need to start making a change?
Arab nations like Egypt, Jordan, Qatar, and Morocco all agree a ceasefire is best, while Canada, the U.S., Britain, and the European Union are instead proposing what they call a humanitarian pause.
To get aid in, to get Canadians out, to get vulnerable people out.
Thanks very much for having us.
It's a pleasure.
So, what's the difference? We asked a Canadian former ambassador to Israel, John Allen.
In your view, what is the difference between a ceasefire and a humanitarian pause?
A humanitarian pause is exactly what it says it is. It's a pause to allow humanitarian goods, medicine, food, water, perhaps fuel into the country. When people are calling for a ceasefire, they are basically saying that the war should stop right now.
While the United Nations loosely defines a ceasefire as an agreement to stop hostilities, it says a humanitarian pause is considered temporary and purely for humanitarian purposes.
Certainly a humanitarian pause is feasible, and I would say it should happen. It should happen as quickly as possible. They should increase the number of trucks coming in.
Israel won't consider either option without the release of hostages. Its military targeting Hamas in Gaza from the ground and from the air. So it's up to other countries to step in and stop the violence, says Egypt's foreign minister.
But it is the international community's responsibility always to seek the cessation of hostilities.
But speaking beside him, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken said, now is not the time.
A ceasefire now would simply leave Hamas in place, able to regroup and repeat what it did on October 7th.
Indeed, Hamas's unprecedented attacks on Israel changed the course of history. In the past, Israel and Hamas have agreed to ceasefires, like 2.5 years ago, letting aid trucks move into Gaza after 11 days of fighting. But this war will last for months, predicts former U.S. State Department negotiator Aaron David Miller.
We're not talking here about a humanitarian pause for in localized areas for 6, 8, 10, 12 hours. If you're talking ceasefire, what the Arab states clearly want is an indirect negotiated ceasefire, which would presumably put the conflict on hold or perhaps even end it.
Around the world, the protests will rage on, with no one stopping the violence for now. Thomas Dagla, CBC News, Toronto.
So let's find out more about the likelihood going forward that Israel would agree to some sort of halt. Aaron David Miller is in Washington. He's a senior fellow at the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace and served 6 secretaries of state with both parties as an advisor on Arab-Israeli negotiations. And we saw him briefly in Thomas's story. Aaron, let's go through this, step by step. First of all, people are talking about the possibility of a ceasefire. How likely do you think that is?
I think it's highly unlikely. It's conceivable if the Israelis received assurances that all of the hostages would be released, not just the foreign nationals, which I suspect is part of Hamas's game plan to keep the Israelis. They might agree to a temporary suspension of hostilities in an effort to secure and facilitate all of those folks coming out of Gaza, but under no circumstances will the Israelis agree to a negotiated ceasefire that is designed to somehow stabilize the conflict or perhaps even end it.
And so what about that humanitarian pause? You said you could see one short one, maybe to get people out of Gaza, but especially international citizens, but beyond that?
I mean, the Israelis did it once on October 20 when Hamas agreed to release the 2 women, the dual nationals. The Israelis agreed to stop military activity for a number of hours. That's, I guess, a humanitarian pause. The other functional result would be an effort to surge badly needed humanitarian assistance, both through southern Gaza, through the Rafah crossing at a much higher rate and level, and also to get needed humanitarian assistance to the roughly 500,000 Palestinians who are still in Gaza City, where the Israelis are operating. That would be, again, localized and short-term to facilitate humanitarian aid going in and to get humans out.
We have just about maybe 45 seconds. In this part of the world, even Canada, when the United States gets involved, it gets a lot of attention. But in that part of the world, how much weight do you think the United States has in trying to, whatever resolution looks like, in trying to achieve a resolution?
Not much, frankly. Not if we're talking about the United States somehow getting Hamas and Israel off of their primary objectives. I don't think the U.S. carries much weight at all. Humanitarian pauses, surging humanitarian assistance, release of hostages, yes, but certainly not dissuading the Israelis from their primary objective, which is to eradicate Hamas's military organization in Gaza and also end its sovereignty.
Aaron David Miller, thank you very much for your insights.
Pleasure, Ian. Thanks for having me.
Coming up, he was fierce on the ice, but fun on the mic.
Hey, what's it like warming up with absolutely no music?
It's worse than your questions.
How Kevin Bieksa used his talents for a second shot at stardom. He was an NHL star, a tough defenseman who could score and wasn't afraid to mix it up.
And I'll tell you what, watch the hand speed here on Bieksa.
Now he works as an analyst for the biggest hockey show of them all.
This is Hockey Night in Canada on Sportsnet.
Kevin Bieksa is insightful, thoughtful, and always entertaining.
Did you see the 2 terrible passes he gave me in the skate this morning?
He grew up in Ontario and played for Vancouver and Anaheim. I caught up with him last month in Vancouver. I can't think of another player who has made the switch to analyst look so effortless. Has any of it been challenging?
No, of course there's been some challenging parts, knowing which camera to look at and some of the intricacies of being on air, but I was told pretty early on, be yourself and don't try to be a trained journalist. I didn't go to school for this. The guy driving the bus right now is JT Miller. If you watch their first 4 games, he's the guy playing with the jam and the edge. You bump into the defenseman on the PK, you even look at him the wrong way, it's penalty. Kadri's one guy who gets the goal and is trying to control his emotions. This was their best, what am I trying to say, Elliot? Game. I'm an athlete. I'm a retired athlete, and I'm essentially there to talk about hockey and kind of bring the fan into what the players are seeing and thinking. And the rest of the stuff I've kind of picked it up. Obviously, I'm a little bit of a perfectionist, so I want to get better at that kind of stuff. But certainly I had no formal training coming in, and I thought, let's just focus on the hockey stuff first.
I do a live radio show on CBC, and I often think when I sit down in the studio, I'm this close potentially to YouTube infamy if I say the wrong thing. Do you think about that at all?
Rarely. I think maybe on the back of your mind it's there because, as they say, you can say anything once, right? No, I mean, I think everyone's at their best when they're relaxed, but sometimes when you're relaxed, you'll let a word out that probably shouldn't be on TV. You know, most of the time I'm okay, but it's funny because the conversations that we have off camera are usually the best ones, the arguments or the differences of opinion. And then obviously when you go on camera with that conversation or that argument, you got to kind of tidy it up a little bit.
I was in the studio the other day for the National and did not realize I wasn't supposed to actually be on air. They accidentally put me on air, so that's a lesson. Like anytime you're in the studio.
And you swear a lot. I've already learned that about you, so
right.
Yeah, be careful.
I got very, very lucky at that moment, absolutely. When I think of you as a hockey player, two things come to mind.
Really, really skilled.
Yeah, that's right. Three things come to mind. Really, really skilled, but also you were a fighter. Like you were a tough guy. When you needed to, you were able to fight. I saw a clip, I think it's from a podcast, of an interview you did.
And I love to get hit in a fight, guys. I know we're talking about fighting a lot, but I love to get hit in a fight as long as I won.
You said you like getting punched.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds weird to me.
Yeah, to most people. And I grew up with two brothers and a pretty physical dad. And I mean, we wrestled. We're big WWF wrestling fans, and we threw each other around and kind of smacked each other around. And that's just the way I was brought up. So I think everyone, you get hit once in a while, it keeps you honest. So the most important thing in the fight for me was always winning. I didn't really care about, never really worried about getting hurt or getting hit. It's like I just wanted to win because there's so much momentum that comes from winning a fight in an NHL hockey game for your team, and it affects the game, right? But it's nice to get hit once in a while and have like a little shiner coming out of it. And then the next day I'm dropping my son off at Montessori school and I have a big black eye. Like that was always kind of a badge of honor for me.
Now we get a fight.
Bieksa's a veteran of the wars.
You know, when I was a kid, we heard that fighting is part of the game. It just happens, you know, and I accepted that. And then over the years, I've heard like some of the enforcers couldn't sleep the night before. And some of the injuries were gruesome, some of the broken bones in their face. So I just wonder, as you look at it now in 2023, what place does fighting have in hockey?
Well, it's evolved, and I don't think you have the fighters anymore like you did when I played. There was guys where their job was essentially to go out and fight probably every other game. So they're looking at, 30, 40 fights a season. And back then, a heavyweight was 6'5", 250. That was a normal size. So yeah, I can understand the anxieties for players going into those games knowing that it's one punch away from permanent damage, and on top of that, not really getting an opportunity to play the game. Now, back to me personally, I never felt I was a fighter. I played, I had a role, I thought that was more important than the fighting. I just enjoyed it once in a while.
Finds Bieksa in the lane, scores! To Bieksa, slap shot, scores! What a heads-up play by Kevin Bieksa.
The other thing I think about when I think of you as a player is you're funny. You've always been a funny guy, and in those potentially terrible between period interviews and after game interviews, you would, make jokes.
Still a young guy, so not that young. Well, I am compared to you, so. That's true.
Did you see the two terrible passes he gave me in the skate this morning?
Okay, what's it like warming up with absolutely no music?
It's worse than your questions.
When you were a player, hockey was pretty conservative. Get pucks in deep, give 110%. How did your joking kind of style go over with your teammates and your teams?
I mean, I think it was fine. I think for me, I joke around. There's always like a little bit of truth to it, and I found like it was a good way to keep guys accountable in the locker room where, if I come at a guy hard with something, with a message, maybe it's not received, but if I come at them with a joke or a little bit of fun, maybe the message sinks in a little bit more. But I mean, I'd like to say I was thinking a lot when I was, but I wasn't very thinking that much, right? It's just who it was. Like, it's a game and it was a lot of fun.
Sometimes in any community, and I'm sure in the hockey community as well, people look back, from the time that they, when you were playing to now, and kids these days are so different, or the game these days is so different. How do you feel about the state of the game in 2023 compared to when you were playing?
Kids are growing up different than I did, right? Let's put it that way. It's a different demographic in the sense of there's a lot of emphasis on skill and skating. When I was younger, it was you have to be tough. Like you're never going to make it. You're not tough enough. I remember hearing that over and over. You're not big enough. Now, I don't think kids hear that these days. It's all about skill and speed, and it's like a recalibration now of what we value as for hockey players. So with that comes the personalities too, right? It's I don't want to say softer personalities, but they're different. They're not hard-nosed, kids growing up and thinking the only way to get to the NHL is by running a guy through the boards. So you have some different personalities for sure.
Potentially, well, I guess a serious issue, hockey in terms of being inclusive. I think that's really changed too over the years. And so people of different backgrounds are clearly welcomed. Women's hockey is clearly respected in a way that it maybe wasn't 30 years ago. But there's still not a single player in the NHL who has said that they're gay. And statistics suggest that there would be some players that are gay. So you're a thoughtful guy. I'm kind of curious what you know about hockey from inside the dressing room to outside. What does the NHL need to do to make gay players feel comfortable to be out?
Well, I don't know what the NHL can do. I know in the dressing room, that's all I can speak on. I feel like it's a pretty inclusive place. And I think people realize the correlation between having a close team and having an accepting team and success. Like the best teams I ever played on, and it's cliche, but we were the tightest. And then the teams that were kind of not as tight and guys went off their different ways and we didn't really hang out together, and you could tell after practice guys were just waiting to get out of there, and there wasn't the joking around, the camaraderie, not as successful on the ice, right? So I think in the room, I think everybody wants to be inclusive.
Less serious question, but I think the answer on this is still important. You coach kids in Anaheim, right? So hockey parents, what's your advice for anyone who's watching now who's a hockey parent?
Well, they're fun. Hockey. It's funny because I have like Ryan Kessler. He's coaching in Michigan for Little Caesars, and I have a really good friend that coaches Thunderbirds here, and I have another friend that coaches in Calgary, and we all have the same stories. I have a saying, I say, players play, coaches coach, parents parent. Just stay in your lane. Stay in your lane. Don't overwhelm your son with what you want them to be. Let them enjoy the process too, because the odds are your son's probably or daughter's not going to be playing professionally. So allow them to at least enjoy the experience. Work hard, have fun, and then just let things fall where they may.
You played in the NHL. Living the dream. You work for Hockey Night in Canada, living a dream a lot of other people have, and you're still a relatively young man. What's next?
Thank you.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see. The thing I like about this, the media side and the schedule that I have, Hockey Night on Saturdays, is I'm still allowed to be around my kids during the week, and that was important to me because we travel a lot in the NHL, and I missed a lot of birthdays and I missed a lot of important dates. And like my daughter has a dance performance that I'm going to jet home for tomorrow. Those things I value, and I know my kids are getting older and they won't always be there. So to be able to be home during the week and not traveling around with the team or doing color with the same thing, you're traveling around to the site, I think that's important to me. So I'll continue to do this until my kids move on to university and enjoy it.
Well, you were very, very good at what you do, and it's been fun watching you on Hockey Night in Canada.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
So a couple of things. We did that interview in mid-October. That's why we're not wearing poppies. And that joke he made about me swearing a lot, just a joke. A Canadian has continued his domination in the world of professional bodybuilding.
5-time Olympia champion, folks. How's it feel, Chris? Does it get sweeter every time?
How he flexed his way to the top, next in our moment. This is Chris Bumstead, born and raised in Ottawa, and he's holding up 5 fingers because he won his 5th consecutive Olympia title yesterday in the classic physique category. The Canadian has skyrocketed to international fame in the bodybuilding community, where some consider him to be one of the all-time greats. Tonight, his victory and his powerful reaction is our moment.
And five-time
Whoa, there we go.
Chris Bumstead.
This one's really special. I honestly tore my lat like 10 weeks out. No one even knows that. And then it was like no training for a while. But I told myself I was going to lean on the people I love. I called my fiance, called Hani, and I cried. And I was like, I don't know if I can do this. And that was one of those things where leaning on people I love. They all looked at me and they're like, you don't have to do this. And we'll love you no matter what you do. And that filled me up with courage to keep going, keep pushing. I had my first real back workout where I could train through the pain. And I had a good workout. I remember lying on the gym floor. I remember crying again, and this time it was in gratitude. Because I want people to know that life's up and down. It's about having no quit. It's about not giving up on yourself. It's about leaning on the people you love, enjoying the goddamn journey, and just being along for the experience.
You know, in an interesting way, there's a kind of a thread that connects this to that story we had earlier on breakdancing, because at the top of any field, the amount of work you have to do, the difference between being first and being 10th is probably so small. And you can just look at him and imagine the amount of work that goes into ending up the way he ended up. So congratulations to him. Thank you for being with us. You can watch us anywhere, anytime on the free CBC News app and subscribe to the National's YouTube channel. I'm Ian Hanamansi. Good night.